Memory is supposed to tell us who we are. It's the thread that stitches our lives together into one continuous story. So what happens when parts of that story simply disappear? Not because of dementia and not because of brain injury, but because your own mind has quietly filed away pieces of your life somewhere you can't reach. Today, we're talking about one of the most misunderstood disorders in all of psychology, dissociative identity disorder. Hollywood has convinced us it's a disorder about dozens of personalities taking turns committing crimes. But the real story is much darker, much sadder, and somehow even more fascinating. Dun, dun, dun. Welcome, strangers, to Strange Mind, the podcast where we explore the strangest conditions in psychology and neuroscience. I'm Dr. Amy Busing.
I'm Viking Cat Lady.
And today we have a doozy for you, dissociative identity disorder, previously known as multiple personality disorder.
Oh, fun.
Yes.
Fun.
So I honestly think that the name change, which happened, remember we talked about the DSM?
Yes.
All right. Well, this happened in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual in 1994. That's when they changed it to, I thought it was much more recent than that, but because a lot of people still say multiple personality disorder. But when you realize why they changed it, it explains a lot about the disorder itself. So multiple personality disorder made it sound like the person has like all these different personalities living inside of them. But clinicians found that that wasn't really the core problem. It's not about having multiple personalities. It's the core is dissociation. So the brain is separating parts of a person's memories, emotions, identity, and sense of self. So a person with DID isn't becoming different people. It's that their brain has learned how to like cordon off certain areas and certain identities. So I didn't really understand the difference of like personality and identity. So it's like your personality is kind of like how you behave, the things that you like, and the way that you interact with the world. And then the identity is more like your self-concept, who you are, your memories and all that.
Absolutely.
What
Yeah.
makes you continuous. So the people with this disorder, each identity has different memories and different abilities. It's really, okay, so this is the way that I'm explaining it.
Okay.
It's like your book, your life is a book, and it's written over the course of your life. And for most people, there's the chapters you can kind of flow through and see the contiguous nature of things. But with DID, most people have extreme trauma that fractures the narrative. So the book is still there and every page still belongs to you, but the chapters have been separated in such a way that they're inaccessible to the rest of the self.
Yeah.
Am I making it more confusing?
No.
Okay. So the word identity replaced personalities because it's more about different states of self. And like the way that I think about it is, so we all have different personalities, right? Like my work personality, my fun party personality, my stern mother personality.
Everyone
everyone has that. But all those parts still are aware of the other parts. But with dissociative identity disorder, those parts, they're aware of the other parts, but when they're in it, they don't necessarily have access to the same things.
Got you. That makes much more sense.
Yes. Okay. It's hard to describe.
Yes.
So dissociation is feeling disconnected from yourself, losing time, having gaps in memory, and feeling like parts of your life don't belong to you. So it's, again, it isn't a person with multiple people inside. It's a person whose mind has separated parts of itself, usually in response to this overwhelming trauma. Another way to think of it is our former friend Susan. Do you think he's listening now? We have a friend, and I'm sure most of you listening have a friend who maybe sometimes might become too inebriated and act in ways that were very not consistent with their personality and not remember any of it.
Right.
So it's almost like having, like, without any intoxicant,
You're a
behaving in
different
certain
person.
ways, you're blacking out and you're a different person and
Right.
you don't even realize the things you're doing. And then literally people with DID, they'll say, hey, you just had this conversation with me yesterday. And they'll say, no, I
Yeah.
didn't. So it's like a blackout without drinking in a way.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
I actually know a couple. I know more than one person like that.
Yeah, me too, for sure.
Wait, us?
No. No. You, when you get really drunk, just get tired and want to go home. I've never once seen you do any.
I don't have a
bizarro
tell.
things.
I don't really have it. Actually, I have one tell.
Yeah, you're tired and you want to go home. I don't know. What is it?
This eye gets lazy.
Really?
That's my only tell.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Huh.
I'll have 4 bottles of wine, and that's my only tell. No slurry, no anything
Yeah,
else.
no.
I don't know. It's
Interesting.
It's quite astonishing.
Yeah, and I don't have tells because I'm always rowdy.
Right.
So it's not like I get rowdier. If anything,
Good
I
point.
might want to go home. So the people with DID often call the differing identity states their multiples or their alters, which is it kind of like continues that whole misconception, but that's just the way that they tend to refer to the different parts of themselves. So let's dive into a first case. So this is not necessarily a case of DID, but it's a case that resembles it. The first case that actually resembles it. And it's about a woman named Mary Reynolds. And this was published in 1816.
So long.
So
fucking time ago.
So she was a young woman in her 20s, and this was in Greene County, Pennsylvania. So at the time, this became referred to as double consciousness, and this was considered a precursor to multiple personality, DID. So she was a very quiet, religious young woman living in rural Pennsylvania.
Sounds like a blast.
Yeah, it sounds like a real fun time. So according to reports, around 18, she experienced a dramatic change, and it wasn't really clear at all. It seemed like it was like a period of illness followed by a long sleep. I don't know if it was a coma, but they said it was an unresponsive state that lasted for like a few hours. And when she comes out of it, she forgot her family, her friends, her education, her past experiences. She was otherwise functioning fine, but the strangest part was she's suddenly a totally different person. So she used to be serious, reserved, quiet, religious, withdrawn. And then when she comes out of it, she's like energetic.
She wants to party.
Playful, mischievous, socially outgoing. And she was a little more childlike. And I'm wondering, like, were her friends like, yes, this is awesome. We've always wanted this side of you. Like you've been so straight-laced this whole time. But she lost access to many memories. So she didn't recognize people, which would suck.
Yeah.
It makes me think of, remember Phineas Gage? So weren't they saying that before his injury, he was kind of like a boring dude?
Yes.
Maybe not boring, but very responsible.
Yes.
And then afterwards,
Yes.
he was more kind of like just off the cuff kind of guy.
Yeah.
So her family said it was like another person replaced her. And over time, she just kept cycling back and forth between the states. But what fascinated early physicians the most was that her memory was state dependent. So she would only have the memories of her former self when she was behaving as her former self.
Right.
So she shifted back and forth between states over years, but eventually she remained in the second state. And I was thinking that's probably because she like had a lot better feedback from people. It's probably had a lot more fun.
Yeah, she's like, this is who I want to stick with.
Exactly. That would be like a cool trick it makes me think of like when you're like, I'm gonna reinvent myself. You just literally like go to sleep for 12 hours and wake up and like, I am now a person who, I don't know, wakes up at 6 a.m. and goes on 5-mile runs. Like, you can't change your entire
That would never
self.
happen.
No.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Okay, but here's the crazy part. There's no reliable evidence that she had a history of trauma or anything happened to her. Nothing like medical, no trauma, no head injury. So they're just like, what the hell? So in the early 1800s, doctors didn't have these terms like dissociation or trauma memory or PTSD. So they called it double consciousness, divided personality, and alternating personality. But at its core, it looked like DID. So that's kind of like the first one. But then the most famous case that came up was this woman behind the 3 Faces of Eve. Have you heard of this? Okay, so this woman's name was Chris Costner Sizemore. Chris, but it's a female. But when the story went public, she was named Eve. So this was in the early 1950s. And she was a young wife and a mother living in Augusta, Georgia.
Oh, wow.
Woohoo, Georgia. I don't know why I'm like Augusta. I don't know. All right. Outwardly, she looked like she was like everything right, but privately, something terrifying was happening to her. She was losing time. She would find herself somewhere without any memory of how she got there.
Oh, that is trippy.
Yes.
Oh, gosh. So, like, all of a sudden you're like,
Yeah.
I'm on my couch.
Right.
I do that at least once a week.
Right.
But you know why.
Right. Yeah, exactly. How did I get here?
I'll never forget the time I was on my couch years ago. And I literally scared myself. Like, I just went, I'm on the couch.
Where'd you think you were?
I don't know.
The last time you remembered you were at Publix?
Right? Just like, oh, I just got startled by being on the couch.
It sounds like it was like scary, but also
It was like I was
Yeah.
scared for half a second. And then I was like, this is hilarious.
yeah. There's worse places you could go
I was like,
to.
I have to text Jeremy right now.
Yeah.
Because we talk about getting stoned and you just turn into your couch. But I just was alarmed to be on my couch.
At least you weren't in an alley somewhere. Okay, so she couldn't remember conversations that she had had, but she also had crushing headaches and periods where her behavior didn't feel like her own. And at some point, she got so scared because she had a young daughter. So she's like, I don't know what's going on. So she sought help, and she eventually comes under the care of psychiatrist Dr. Corbett Thigpen, Dr. Hervey Cleckley.
Awesome. Get these names.
So they noticed something unusual. At times, her voice, facial expressions, and mannerisms would change dramatically. So one state she'd be quiet and anxious and deeply burdened, and then all of a sudden she'd be like playful and impulsive and flirtatious and carefree. So the psychiatrist eventually published her story in a book, and the book was The Three Faces of Eve. And then in 1957, it became an Academy Award-winning movie, which I have not watched, but I want to watch. Do you know who Joanne Woodward is?
I do.
Okay. She went to Marietta High School
Holy shit.
and LSU.
Really?
Yeah, she's from Georgia.
Dang.
I know, I had no idea. I was like looking her up. I'm like, who is this? Because
Oh,
she's also
another tiger.
the mom in Sybil, which is another case we'll talk about. So she got like typecast in these multiple personality movies. It's
Oh,
kind of
bless.
weird. Okay, so for years the public believes that Eve had these three personalities. The book's called The Three Faces of Eve, but that isn't the whole story. Years later, after revealing her identity, she identifies that she didn't have just three. She had many more. And over the course of treatment, she reported experiencing more than 20 identity states.
Okay, wait, question.
Yeah.
If they only have memory of the personality they're in, how do they know once they've switched over to another personality?
So it's like the way that they've described it is that I've heard two different people say this in documentaries, that they feel like it's kind of like a boardroom. Like they can see all the personalities. Some of them are like shrouded. Like the one woman was saying, some of them you can't see their face, they're in darkness. And some of the kids are running around. But it's like you can see all these people inside of you. And then when one of them comes out, they call it, they're either in the light or on the spot. That's what they call it.
Okay.
So over time, most of the personalities will become aware of one another, but they don't necessarily know what's going on when that person is in the spot.
Okay.
It's weird, right?
Yeah, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
Very, very weird. So she said she didn't experience them as other people living inside of her. She experienced them as fragmented parts of herself, parts that had developed over years of coping with overwhelming trauma. So she spent decades in treatment, and not to like eliminate, but to kind of help them communicate and integrate. And she made remarkable progress. Apparently, she remarried, she raised a family, she became an artist.
Good
and
Lord.
She wrote several autobiographies describing her own experience, including I'm Eve and a Mind of My Own.
So how old was she at the first phase of Three Faces of Eve?
Oh, right. When they published the book,
Yeah.
1957, I think she was 30.
Okay.
And then when she went on to publish her own books, where it was in her 50s. So decades it took her to get to that point. But, I mean, hats off, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's say, what is dissociative identity disorder? So for most people, our identities feel like continuous life. Like when I was in 5th grade, this happened. When I was in high school. But severe repeated trauma can interrupt that process. And instead of experiencing one integrated identity, different parts kind of fracture off. So one part will remember the trauma, one part goes to school, another protects the child. So they're not separate brains, they're just like different ways of interacting with the world. So interestingly enough, dissociation exists on a spectrum, kind of like we've talked about it. We do this all the time, and me probably more so than most, and maybe you, like where my attention just seems like it snaps off. So
I haven't even been listening for the last 20 minutes.
I'm on the couch.
I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about right now.
Wait, what are we talking about?
I don't know. Oh,
All right.
shoot.
So, but seriously, you've driven somewhere and just like,
Oh, and then I'm like, oh, I don't remember seeing the road.
yeah, no recollection.
None.
Just, I don't know even how I got there. Thank God for GPS, right? Read an entire page of a book. Yeah.
Yep, because I'm daydreaming.
Yeah. It's crazy how I can actually be reading. Like, I'll get to the next page and then realize I was thinking about something totally
Right. And then you've
differently.
got to go back.
Yes.
I do it all the time.
But clinical dissociation is different. In severe dissociative disorders, the separation goes much deeper. It creates actual barriers that you can't access. I mean, I can't always access things either, but it's like the emotions, the sensations. So the information isn't erased. The memories are still there, but access to them. So for many patients who endure trauma, some parts won't remember any of it. And that's obviously on purpose so they can function.
Yeah.
You know? So it's really resilience is what it is. It's just the brain's way of being able to get through something and be able to function.
Well, what's the neuroscience behind it?
Researchers believe it develops almost exclusively during childhood, before the brain has this, like, you know, constructed stable sense. So a lot of researchers suggested that many cases begin in the preschool years, early, often before age 5. But that's debated, because a lot of that came from the fact that when this was first going on, a lot of times they were like putting patients, I sort of like give patients truth serums.
Oh, wait, so that's just not a movies thing?
No, they did that. They actually did that in another case we'll talk about. And then they would like hypnotize them to try to get back to memories. And then they would like uncover these memories of like abuse they had when they were 3. And it's like, how accurate? How can you know that's accurate? You can't. But that's where a lot of that comes from. So a lot of that's disputed. But also, in some of the cases, like the mother would remember that, in this other case we'll talk about, the mother remembered the kid being really young and suddenly asking her, why do you keep calling me Billy? And she's like, that's the name I gave you. And she remembered him switching when he was young.
That is terrifying.
Yeah. So it's like these people have these things, but they don't necessarily become completely aware of them. They can be seen as like quirks for a really long time. And then, like, once you get older and start recognizing, like, the gaps in your memory, start becoming, like, you can't function and have kids and jobs, and you can, but you know something's up.
Yeah.
When you're little, you might think, oh, everyone's like this, I guess, just have differing.
Boy.
Yeah. But also, family members will often say there's 2 sides of this kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one sometimes is like this, but that's not that weird. Right?
Yeah.
Lots of kids have different sides of their personalities. So it's really hard to identify when they're young, but supposedly that's when it most often develops. So think about it. If you're being chronically abused, if you're a kid, you can't just like peace out, right? You have to like endure it. You can't call the police. The brain creates this distance another way. So I've heard of like disassociating, where you kind of float above yourself and so you feel like you're not in your body. But in this case, they kind of just go into another identity. So there are some ways that brain research has found that people differ with DID than the general population. One of them is the hippocampus, which is the memory part, is often smaller in people with severe childhood trauma. And then the amygdala, which is the brain's alarm system, can become hyperactive. So they're more often in fight or flight. So those are the things that are different. But here's where things get really weird.
As if things weren't weird already, tune in next week to hear the second part of the Dissociative Identity Disorder episode, because things are about to get even stranger. Thanks for tuning in.